Hello and welcome back to Patchworks. If you're new to the channel, once a week, twice a week, I just make a video poorly making some random knickknack or thing that I may or may not need. We are in an unfamiliar setting today. My wife and I are on vacation, the last vacation before the baby comes, and today we're just doing a quick video. I brought a little leather with me, and I'm going to be attempting to make a laptop case. Not like a case, but more of a envelope type deal. Just something I could slip it in to give it a little bit more protection if I'm throwing it in my bag or something like that. So I think I brought everything I need. This is the laptop I'm going to be making a cover for, and I'm not sure if, I'm trying to figure out whether I can do two separate pieces, sew them together to make a little envelope style just so I can slip the laptop in and out of, or if I want to make just one piece folded end on end. I'm realizing now I didn't bring any glue, so that might be an issue, but we're just going to go ahead and give it a shot. We're not going to be dying on this table. My mom will come in. And let's open up this leather. This seems like it might be just enough to make this happen. I'm not sure how well you can tell this, but if you are ever using and storing veg tan, undyed veg tan, it can get not sun bleached, it gets sun tanned. So this is all the stuff that hasn't been in the sun. This darker area has been in the sun. So it gets a little darker in the sun. It should not be visible once I've dyed it. It shouldn't be an issue, but just something to keep in mind. Ideally keep them in, rolled up in a dark closet or something like that if you don't want this to happen. So while I'm doing this, I want to cut off as little leather as possible because I don't have any more here. And if I mess this up, then it's kind of just messed up. Gotta figure something else out. Just gonna apply a moderate amount of force to make sure this doesn't move on me, or to try to make sure this doesn't move on me. Yep, and it moved. So I'm just referencing this off of these lines. I want there to be about a ½ inch on either side. And the way I'm going to attempt to line this up is by, in fact, measuring an inch on one side. I don't have a right angled ruler to help me get these lines perfectly parallel, and nor would I be able to do that either way. But I can go like this. Now I'm going to need probably about an inch more length, 2 times this length, plus at least an inch to take into account when it folds over. Made that mistake when I made the journals. Go ahead and watch that. I'll have it linked after this. I made them too small, so when they folded over, the book was coming out the end and it didn't really look good. So I'm gonna try to prevent that from happening. I'm trying to use these things as reference. And I'm not sure how well it works. So I'm using the laptop as my right angle guide, and I think it'll be enough to work for this. And where does that miss? Just for wondering. If I did this halfway decently, this should work out. Boom. So let's see what we actually have. See if I did this anyway correct. Heyo! That is a success. So, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this outside because we're not going to mess everything up inside. I'm gonna take this outside and I'm going to dye it. So let's go ahead and hop out there. So please excuse the noise out here, as there are neighbors. In a real DIY attempt, using this trash bag to not dye the rest of the table. And I'm gonna use what I used for years to dye, because those dang daubers are so expensive. Those wool daubers to use over and over and over and over and over again. These are just ripped up t-shirts. Just ripped up t-shirts. Make sure they're not still wet from some other dye. These are not. I'm just going to dab the leather dye today using this 5-Ings. I love 5-Ings Pro Dye, but this is the English Bridal. I'm gonna do probably 2 coats of it because I want it to be a little bit darker than it normally is. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that. So as you can see, I ended up doing 3 coats because this English Bridal is a lot lighter than I wanted it to be. But I think it's going to look great either way. One other thing to note, this came out a lot more red than it would have if it was just the English Bridal. I'm not sure if you could tell, but the rag I was using had been used last on a red dye. So it did 100% bleed through, reactivate, whatever it is. And especially on this first part, get some red in there. I think it's going to end up looking great. It ends up looking a little bit more like a light mahogany with that red in it. I'm going to bring this inside, let it sit for maybe about 30 minutes, and then we're going to get back to it. So this is it. And waited a little bit longer than I had intended on, but I am really happy with it. Gonna just rub it with some paper towels just to make sure there's no ink that's gonna bleed off and get anywhere, which looks like it soaked in well enough. Guess generally I just wait too short of a time. So we're just going to this is just super glue. It's really not, I wouldn't recommend it. It's very much irreversible. Make sure you're happy with your layout before you do it. Well, that's not working. Maybe you can't super glue suede. This would be the suede side. Maybe it's just too porous or something, I don't know, but it's not working. I can tell you that much. Gonna have to go about this a little bit differently, I think. Let's just try to stitch it. I'm gonna scribe the line, stitch line, and let's just see if we can punch it and not mess it up. So while I do think I made this long enough, I was kind of tight on the sides. So I'm gonna keep that stitch pretty close to the edge there. Move workstations. So here's what we're gonna do. Because I can't get these to line up, I'm going to start my stitch right here. And I'm gonna use that to hold it in line. And now, should be able to just keep this going. So I finished up this side, and here's what I'm going to do. So I don't line these edges up differently and make a weird kind of bow effect. I'm going to make sure I skewer top and bottom. Oh, and look at that. Mess that up. That's what I was trying to avoid. I stabbed an extra hole in there. So it's not looking too bad, but I gotta be honest, I butchered this stitch line. I don't know what the heck happened. I was diagonal when I started, I guess, and that it's really gonna stick out when I sew it. But nothing I can do about it now. Just gonna get to stitching. Gonna stitch the bad side first, so the good side's gonna look even better. So I've done this a few times. If you see it in any of my other videos, I want the stitch line to be kind of muted, so it is very similar in color, a little darker. It can't really match too much, or maybe someone can. I'm not. But I'm going to measure out about 4.5 lengths for a saddle stitch is what I like to use. I say saddle stitch is the stitch I like to use. I have no idea how to make any other stitch, so saddle stitch is the only stitch I use. That's the only stitch I know. And I did bring my stitching pony, not sawhorse, stitching pony, using these big-eyed needles. I'm gonna pop a squat and get to stitching. Just gonna pop the squat here. I like to sit. Technically, you can use these clamp them on a table. I think that's probably how they're supposed to be used. I like to just kind of sit on them. Let's see if I can get a crotch shot here. I like to just sit on them on a comfy chair, so you can be stitching for hours sometimes. Bigger bags and stuff like that. I think I said I wanted to start on the ugly side, which hopefully will remain this side. I don't know. Get them equal lengths and go to town. Another thing you want to try to keep in mind is when you pull it, generally it's going to be one stitch over the other, and I'll pull you in close here to show you. But one stitch over the other, you want to make sure that for consistency's sake, for aesthetic, that say the stitch coming from this side is always on top and the other on the bottom, or vice versa. Otherwise it ends up not looking nearly as clean as it could. Over to the right hand goes under. And so when I pull it, I pull this side up, that side down, and it keeps that stitch over the other, over the other, over the other. And as it goes down, it just looks a whole lot neater. Now with softer leathers especially, you don't want to, or I have the habit of pulling too tight, and then what happens is the leather pinches. It just doesn't look as good. So pull tight, but you don't need to like strangle the thing. The stitch is very strong on its own. It's not going to slip out. Okay, so just finishing up this stitch now. And this is what I've established as my front side. So I'm going to finish up the stitch, back stitch, cut it on the back side here, and burn it just a little to seal in those stitches. There you go. Now I'm gonna come back and clean up this edge here, make it flush. But before I do that, let's stitch the other side. Now I could just ruin this whole thing if I mess this up, so. gonna sand these edges a little bit. I think this is 1000 grit, not totally sure. I was originally going to dye these edges, but I think I actually like the contrast that it gives. So, moment of truth. Will it laptop hold? Like it's love. That's gonna, it's a little snug right now, but that'll stretch out in no time. Oh yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It was super quick. Only took me about like 2 hours of actual work. The rest was just kind of waiting for the dye to dry. But super simple, yet I think super classy, if I may say so myself. And it adds a little extra protection. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable picking this up and throwing it in my bag. This only cost me about like probably 10-15 bucks worth of leather. Obviously, if you don't have any of these materials to begin with, buying all of them is going to be more than probably just buying a laptop case. But I had all this stuff just laying around, so it cost me literally nothing to put this together, and I'm really happy with how it looks. If you like what you saw, go ahead and press that like button. Subscribe to see more videos coming up shortly. Drop a comment, let me know what you want to see next. Let me know what project you guys want an update on, and I'll see you on the next video.